Chapter 11. Kicked Out. One morning, I was moving too slowly for my stepfather. He wanted me to braid my younger sister's hair for school. I was still in the bathroom getting ready for school myself. My stepfather decided he would set the microwave timer for 3 minutes. I was supposed to take my bath in that amount of time. 3 minutes is not a long time. I did not make it happen. He began to yell at me and tell me to get out. I told him I was not finished in the bathtub yet. He told me he was going to come in anyway. I said, "You can't come because I'm naked." He came to the door and tried to unlock the door. I jumped up out of the tub and pressed my body firmly against the door while my feet slid from all the water on the tile floor. I was screaming and yelling at him not to open the door. He started banging on the door with his fist and trying to come in on me. You cannot imagine what went through my mind. I was scared, and I could not understand why he was going to come in there, especially when I told him I was naked. What was he going to do to me? What if he got in? I was naked, and he was going to see me. He eventually gave up trying to bust the door down. However, his anger had won. He kicked me out of the house. My stepfather went into my room, got my keys from my dresser, and told me to get out. He took my little sister and left the house, slamming the front door behind him. I waited for a while before leaving the bathroom. What if he came back? What if this was a trick to get me to come out of the bathroom? When I finally did come out of the bathroom, I called 2 of my aunts and told them what had happened and asked if I could come live with them. One said she could not afford to take me in. The other said she had to talk it over with her husband, but she could at least pick me up and take me someplace safe. I waited for my aunt to get me. While I was waiting, there was a knock on the door, and then the doorbell rang. I said, "Who is it?" The voice on the other side of the door said, "It's your father." Confused, I opened the door. It was my dad. When he stretched out his arms to hug me, I fell into him. I said, "How did you know to come?" He said, "Your aunt called me." He had me get all my things, and I left to go live with him. I loved my dad, but I never wanted to live with my dad. I wanted to live with my aunt, the one who needed to check with her husband. According to her, her husband had said no. She called up my dad. For some reason, he came. However, I had not seen or talked to my dad in years. While I lived with my dad, he wanted me to attend a different school other than the one I was currently attending. Of course, I did not want to change schools. Who would want to start a new school when they graduate next year? I had a boyfriend at this time as well, whom I had started talking to before my mom had passed. She knew his dad, and we all went to the same church. My mom would not allow us to go out on dates or anything because she believed I was too young. My boyfriend and I were only allowed to talk on the phone. He went to a different school anyway. After much coaxing, my dad allowed me to finish my junior year at my school. However, things quickly changed after that. That summer, I went to visit the aunt whose husband said I could not stay with them. I loved my cousins and wanted to spend the weekend with them. I called my dad to ask if I could stay the weekend. He said yes. I ended up going to camp with my cousins. At the end of camp, my aunt showed up with a big black garbage bag. I looked in the bag, and what did I see? All my belongings. My dad had put me out, and for what? I called him and asked him what was going on. He said, "You don't want to be here anyway." So he dumped me out on the very aunt who already said she could not keep me. Great. Rejected again. My aunt still could not keep me. My dad did not want me. Somehow I ended up moving back in with my stepfather. This is when I lost connection with my boyfriend. Chapter 12. The start of same-sex attraction. My stepfather continued in his illicit activities. Every Friday, He would take my younger sister and go to his lady friend's house and leave me home by myself until Monday. In the meantime, what was I supposed to do? I struck up a friendship with a girl I met. It started off innocently enough, as she filled the void I had for my mom. I began to spend a lot of time with her, writing her notes and talking on the phone. I felt a connection with her that I had been missing with everyone else. Over time, I began to have sexual urges toward her. It felt normal to me, although I had never felt that way before. One day while she was over, we were talking in the kitchen, and I was sitting at the counter. She was standing close to me in front of my legs. We were laughing and talking, and then we drew near to one another and kissed. We both jumped because neither of us had planned that. We were best friends, and that was all. In shock, I said, "Are you okay?" She said, "Yes." She said, "Are you okay?" I responded, "Yes." I asked her, "Did you like that?" She responded, "Yes." She asked, "Did you like that?" I responded, "Yes." We kissed again. She would come over on the weekends or evenings that my stepfather was not home. We both attended the same high school. I was a senior and she was a junior. We even had certain classes together like choir. We spent every moment we could together. Since we were spending so much time together and kissing every chance, we awakened sexual desires in our bodies. One weekend when we were alone, we engaged in activities more heated than kissing. In that moment, I asked, how could something that feels so right be so wrong? She said nothing. My question showed that I knew that what I was doing was wrong. Everything I was doing was only based on the way I felt. It gave me pleasure to give into these feelings. Everyone that sins, sins because they get pleasure from it. If it did not feel good, we would never do it.